We're in the Sulky. Bob Hayden joined by Mr. Joe Holloway, and tonight we have Joe racing here with Divine Caroline, the Breeders' Crown champion. We also have, for someone who's not in the Franklin tonight, you're all over that race, Joe. You're everywhere I look, you're part of the race. We're going to talk about that too, but let's get right to it. Let's talk about Divine Caroline. What happened? She's a Breeders' Crown winner. She's 0 for 8 as a 4-year-old. What's going on?
The 0 for 8 is tough. 0 for 3 or 4 I kind of expected. It is a transition from 3 to 4. It's been tough on anybody, whether they be any pacer, but male, female. Jenna Beachwear beat his first 3 starts. She tied up one day and been off her game. Last week she was more like herself, so I think she's going to rebound to form. And then once she does, everything comes up late in the year.
Last year you had Better Be Steppin' and Divine Caroline. It reminded me very much of 1995 when you had the great She's a Great Lady and Armbro Nest, and you actually won 1-2 in the Breeders' Crown. Did that remind you too?
Certainly did, and Better Be Steppin' was the best horse for the early part of the year, and then Caroline came on late. Steppin' wasn't very good after the Valley Forge, and she's yet to return to her form, but it is only the beginning of July, and we go to November, so we have some time. And
20 years ago in June, we had a night here, maybe the most memorable night up to that point in Meadowlands history, outside of maybe Niatros or something like that, when Jenna Beachwear and Riyadh hooked up in the Driscoll, now the Houghton, in a race for the ages. What about that?
Yeah, they had some great battles, but there you go with a 4-year-old. Previously, this is about Jenna's 5th start. Previously, Riyadh had, pulled on him and went right on by. But this time, Jenna was a little bit tighter. They're down to 3/4 and 120, and it was a different story. And it was different from there on in the rest of the year. But sometimes it takes those 4-year-olds a little bit of time to find the toughness. Usually, when they're the best of their crop and they get down by the wire, they've put them away. Here, a couple horses keep coming at them.
And I remember that night it rained a little bit because we had some bad weather last night, but it rained an hour or so before the race. I remember Lee DeVisser almost didn't get here in time, right?
I don't remember that part, but I remember it rained because actually, if you look, they have mud fenders on. The track, wasn't sloppy, but they still had mud fenders on at that particular time.
And to show you in retrospect that 47-3 for Jenna Beachwear, how important it was, what a huge effort it wasn't broken until Hypnotic Blue Chip went 47-2, 14 years later in 2010. So Jenna's mark really stood the test of time.
Yeah, during my span, which is quite a bit now, those standards came when I was a kid. Steady Star jumped to 152, and it was late years of where everybody else was. And then you had Niatros, and he kind of set the standard, and it held up. Jenna was after Niatros, and I think it was like 10 years, because when Jenna broke the record at 3, I wanted to go after Niatros's 3-year-old record, and I believe it was like 10 years. So it took time. And plus that time when Jenna went 47-3, it wasn't like other races were going 48, 49. I think the next fastest race might have went in 50, 49, and 3. So they crushed the records. Right now we're getting a little bunched up, but they have a good shot at the record tonight.
I'm about to mention Joe Holloway's name in the same sentence with Billy Houghton. Are you ready? Billy Houghton had the fastest male and female horse of all time, a Handle with Care Annihilator. The only trainer to do that since Billy Houghton is sitting with me, Joe Holloway. She Be Stingin' 47 flat, which stands right now, and of course the Jenna Mile, which was the world record at the time. What about She Be Stingin' 47 flat? Did that surprise you when she did that?
Well, that sounds weird, but she wasn't even all done. It surprised David. He had more left. He said, if I knew I was that close, I'd have reached up and got after her. I mean, she'd had it kind of put away. He was hollering at her or what, but she had truly vicious speed.
What happened with a horse like that? She's so good, so fast, yet she wasn't the best in her division. She wasn't the actual best 3-year-old filly.
No, Richard Young's filly was the
Richard,
best.
Yeah. And what's the story with that? Sometimes the fastest doesn't mean the best, right?
No, sometimes that's for sure. I Love the Nightlife was tough. I believe that was the one, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't put on a show. I Love the Nightlife. She was tough. It's that Sting there was a couple things. I don't know. I mean, we were close to being the best, and she just never put them away.
Okay, tonight in the Franklin, we have Always Be Mickey. It's one of the stories, for sure. Before we even mention him, who you trained early on, Always a Virgin is the sire of 2 in the race. What kind of horse was always a virgin? And he didn't win the Meadowlands Pace. He wound up standing in Indiana, and Indiana's really come to the forefront.
Yeah, Indiana's and it's a great program. Those horses race for a lot of money. They do a good job. They have lots of races for 2-year-olds. I really like the program. It's a great program. Mickey was a really good horse. He was close to being 3-year-old of the year. Had he won the Meadowlands Pace or the Little Brown Jug, I think he could have got it done. He was close to getting there in the pace, and he got hit with a whip there one time. It stung him, hurt his feelings. He did make a break. And in the jug, we were just unfortunate and got locked in. But he was a very, very good horse.
And right here, we're watching a second-place finish for the ages from Always Be Mickey in the Meadowlands Pace. That was he's watching, winning it. How he got second there, and I picked him that night, so I was watching. He was 10-1. Wow, he showed right then and there. And then when he set his mark of 47-4 at the Red Mile, I believe that was 25-4 coming home, and he was idling, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was 25 home. Once again, Mickey, when I trained, he did things horses don't do. I mean, certainly it's tough to compare like he, Jenna, other horses, but they're freaks. They do things when you train them that horses just don't do. And I told him even back then at 3, I said, he's got a shot. He could be the fastest of all time. He's certainly faster than what Jenna was, but Jenna was also 20 years ago. I mean, I weighed 150 pounds and had black hair. So
That's
it was
right.
a long
and
time
a lot of
ago.
friends.
Yeah, and friends. But Mickey's he's a freak. He's got a third lung, and that's something you can't find in horses. You don't know what it is, but he, like I told David Miller, he thrives on a bad trip. And David said, yeah, it seems whenever I drive him bad, he said he goes even better. I said, and you're the man to do it.
And I can't, it's a fun race, too, because those horses have become superstars without doing it against each other, too. Freaky Feet Pete, Wiggle and Jiggle It, and Always Be Mickey, there's 2 and 2, Wiggle and Jiggle It and Freaky Feet meeting each other. Otherwise, they got 108 starts where they've never raced against each other.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it could be a great free-for-all season.
It really does.
If they stay good, they race. I don't believe one of them is dominant right now. I mean, you could sit here and make a case for any one of them. Wiggle It Jiggle It's gone some of the races that I say, like Jenna or Always Be Mickey. I mean, his race in the jug, he was beat. He came back on. He's going some tremendous miles. Freaky Feet Pete's the one. He's fast. He's good. I don't know if I've seen him go one of them super tough races, but I don't know that it doesn't mean he can't do it. Maybe tonight is the night he could. He's there. But, I mean, that's what true great horses have to do, is go some of those freakish miles.
We're very happy to be joined by Joe Holloway here. And before we let you go, Joe, 7th race, number 9, Divine Caroline. What are you expecting tonight?
Like you said, last week she was more like herself. If she's herself, she's much the best. We will race her off the pace at some point. I mean, she'll get some cover, but that part's up to Jimmy and how he does it. And from there on in, she has to do it and show she's back.
Nobody's had more great horses in the past 3 decades than the man on my right, Joe Holloway. Joe, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you.